Good afternoon and welcome to Law and Crime. I'm Angelica Spanos. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right, so it looks like the courtroom just went into a sidebar there. We've been listening to the cross-examination from Catherine Magbanaway's attorney of Sergeant Chris Corbett, who is one of the digital forensics experts, and we've seen him on the stand a couple other times here. So they've been talking about text messages, showing text messages between Magbanaway and Charlie Adelson, and we also heard about how he referred her to a mechanic to get her car fixed. So that's what we just saw. Let me intro our guests right now. I have Eklund Mercy with me, criminal defense attorney. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And here in the studio, we have Mike Koribanics, Law and Crime legal analyst. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Real quick, what we just saw so far with first of all, let's talk about the prosecution wanting to do a rebuttal to begin with. What is your reaction to that?
I'm not a big fan of rebuttals. I think when the prosecution, especially in this, rebuttal always tells the jury you're worried about something that came out in the cross-examination. I think the prosecutor in this case did a very effective cross-examination of the defendant, and you always want to end on a high note. I mean, some of this is very convoluted and really is overkill.
A little hard for the jury to keep track of all of this and stay really interested.
I think so. I think they're now going, they just had the defendant on the stand. You just had the defendant caught in a lot of inconsistencies. What more do you want as a prosecutor?
Right. And Eklund, let's talk about the defendant, because we weren't sure that Magbanaway was going to testify. What did you think about her testifying?
I mean, it was probably the most interesting thing of this trial, to be real honest. With regards to, and I just wanted to piggyback on what Mike stated, with regards to the, the rebuttal, I think that they are losing. They should have just stopped while they were ahead. The prosecution should have just stopped while they were ahead and just gone into closings. Right now, I think what's happening is tit for tat with the prosecution and the defense, and the jury gets lost. We're going, hey, well, this is what happened. Each person is making useless points when you are, like Mike stated, you're losing the effectiveness of catching the defendant in all the I can't speak right now, in all the inaccuracies.
Right. All right. Well, everyone, as you said, Eklund, was very interested in watching Magbanaway testify. And this could have been, as Eklund said, one of the best moments of this trial so far. She was on the stand for a few hours today, and she was defending herself. And we want to go back and play some of her testimony. Let's watch. All right, so that's Magbanaway talking about her relationships between her and Garcia and her and Adelson. A big moment today when she took the stand. A lot of us didn't expect that, didn't know that was going to happen. Michael, were you surprised that she testified to begin with?
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, the most difficult decision for a criminal defense attorney is to decide whether you're going to put your client on the stand or not. Ultimately, it's always your client's decision. But some people feel you need to put your client on because they have to tell their story. I don't agree with that. Jurors get vetted enough where you have to have faith in the jury that they're going to live up to their oath, listen to the proofs, and see if they meet the standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. This case was all over the place until she took the stand. She gave this case cohesion. She connected people. She put everybody around her in her orbit, and I think she made the case for the prosecution by taking the stand.
Right. And Eklund, without her taking the stand, a lot of this trial was sort of confusing, if you will, and hard to navigate. Do you think that her taking this stand gives you now a clear idea of what this outcome will be?
Absolutely. I had no idea how Adelson was. I didn't know how Markel was connected to her at all. And I had no idea how any of it made sense until she took the stand. We had no story. So the defense had a clear view of just being able, especially with regards to Magbanaway, to be able to be like, hey, we don't know how she ties in. There was no way to tie it in. You actually, the ex-wife, or when the ex-wife testified, it was like the perfect entry for the defense to say, why would she testify? Why would she need immunity? So the defense had it in And they kind of took that away by her testifying. So I think they did a really poor job. But to the defense's, on the defense's defense, the defendant has the right, whether to testify or not. I've had the pleasure or the whatever of having to beg clients not to testify, and they do the opposite. So you never know. You never know.
Right. All right, Eklund, thank you so much. Let's move on, because Magbanua testifies about a moment where Sigfredo actually harassed her and Charlie, and she also said that they knew about each other. So that's also interesting in this. She was with both of these men. They both knew of the other, but she said that at one point Sigfredo harassed her and Charlie. Let's listen. All right, so that was the testimony from Magbanua talking about Sigfredo approaching and harassing her and Charlie. This has been very interesting that she testified, and we just heard from our guests here that they don't think it was a great idea that she testified. Let's talk a bit about her testimony. Eklund, what'd you think? I mean, she didn't necessarily do herself a favor here today, did she?
No, but she also just, well, she didn't do herself any favors. But she kind of didn't help the prosecution either, a little bit, in the sense that she did implicate Charlie Edelson. And that makes the story just a little bit more confusing, because you had the ex-wife, that's her brother, is really just organizing or orchestrating this murder. So it's going to, depending on how much Law and Order SVU the jury has watched, we don't know, to see what they actually want from the state. It's confusing. And once you put immunity in there, that's a lot of doubt. And I think that may help her towards the end. Now, her testimony, as Mike stated, kind of puts the nail in the coffin with regards to Garcia, but it definitely places her at the scene, which is the issue for me.
Right. And what do you think? Did you think she was believable during this?
I think so. I think she was. I think, all the way towards the, she looks reasonable to me. I think that she looks reasonable. I don't know her to know if she was telling the truth or not. She doesn't seem rushed. She felt like it. I think she's like, hey, let me just get it over with. So that's what I see.
All right, Eklund, thank you so much. Michael, let's ask you these same sort of things. Did you think she was believable?
I didn't think she was believable, because she was too close and too well educated not to claim ignorance. The one thing I didn't like about this prosecution, and whenever we show the chart that they showed in the courtroom, it's a very bad optic. I mean, you have these people who are not charged, the Adelson family, who are clearly people of wealth and means. You have these two poor people or defendants who are taking the weight, who, if you believe it all, were taken advantage of. And yet the Adelsons are getting immunity. They're not being charged. Their fingerprints are all over this case. I just think this was a very bad decision, regardless of what the verdict is, that the prosecutors used, because it really shows there is some socioeconomic difference in how they wanted to prosecute this case. And I think the defense should really hammer on that in the summation. And they have three people to point to. And as Eklund said, immunity, I mean, that is, I don't know what they got for immunity. Most times you deal with a prosecutor, immunity has a lot of value. You better give a lot. And I didn't see what she gave to the prosecution in this case.
Right, very interesting. All right, Michael, thank you. We got to take a break real quick. Stay with us here on Law and Crime.